Yeah, because like something always comes up. I get out of my hand because my sister always
So you should drink it all. Huh? You should drink it all. Oh, my cousin did. No, because he said you didn't. I got his number.
It was like when I don't know what's called. You should see what I got to get. Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, I was saying, I got here home now.
You ready to start, Chris?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to finish the portion that we left off last week, Fasl fi Ahkam al-Imama, the ruling as it relates to the Imama, or the person that is leading the Salat. And then the section after that, which we're not going to cover this evening, starting next week, Fasl fi Mawqif al-Imam wal-Ma'mum, Ma'mumi, where the Imam should stand and where should the followers of the Imam stand. We're going to cover that inshallah next week, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. For today, Sheikh, you had a question before the class, huh?
Sure. Question was, Sheikh said, should someone tap someone on the back during the Salat to bring them back? And the second question was,
let's do one at a time. The first one, should a person tap someone on the back? Like, say, for example, they're coming in late for the Salat?
No, they come in and greet the mosque. They come into the mosque, and they do it awfully too soon. But two guys up there praying, another guy come up, he taps him on the back.
same thing.
So he's late for that particular Salat and he taps someone on the back so they can back him and join them?
No, he was going to address the mosque. He coming in, he's not late, he just coming in awfully too soon.
Right.
And two guys up there praying, he just tapped him on his back, and the guy slid back. And they was already engaged in praying.
Right, so he's late for the Salat.
Yeah, you understand?
He's late for the Salat, they prayed already.
Right.
So he made similar, what he's saying, I think is what he's trying to say. They are late for Salat. Because I think, answer that question, sir.
I mean, I don't know the question. I mean, so what I'm understanding is there are two men praying. Well, no, there are two people praying, and then someone else comes in to join the Salat, and he taps the person on the back so the other one can come back, and the one that's leading can lead. So in other words, he's late for the start of that prayer. All right. Like, many of the scholars mentioned with regards to that issue right there is that that person shouldn't tap the person on the back. So if it's 2 people praying, they should come up on the side, and so there'll be 3 people in a rank, and the one that's leading the salat will step forward. I have a personal story, something that happened to me when we were studying. We were in the university, and there were 2 people, same situation. There were 2 people praying. I didn't know who they were, but because they both had their shimags on. So one of them, I tapped on the back so they can come in the back and join me in the rank. And so when I saw the person step in the back, I said, "Oh man, this was one of the imams of the Haram, Sheikh Maher al-Naagli." If you ever heard of him, they download his recitation everywhere. He usually leads Tarawih in the Haram, and he was also one of our teachers in Hadith al-Ahkam. Sah, ya Sheikh? Sah. He was one of our teachers in Hadith al-Ahkam in the university. And so when I tapped, I didn't know it was him. I tapped him on the back to come in the back and join us for the salat. And so after the salat, he looked at me. I said, "Oh man, what did I do?" And he was like, no, I already knew, because even before that, I remember listening to some of the mashayikh actually mention that. But sometimes you get caught in a moment and you just, out of habit, you tap somebody in the back. And he looked at me and said, you shouldn't tap somebody in the back. It's better to stay into the same thing that you already know, but this was me falling victim to that. So in essence, if a person is coming to the salat late like that, then they should come to the side, either the side of the imam or the other side. And that person or that imam should be aware. He should stand up to the front, and the rest of the followers, the ma'mumin, should slide to the back. That's the way it should be. No, that's the way it should be now. And we're going to cover that, inshallah, in the next section in a little more detail. Where should the imam stand versus the ma'mumin, meaning the ones that are following the imam.
I got another question. Let's say you're coming for Fajr prayer.
From where?
You're coming for Fajr prayer, and he already in the mosque, and he already praying.
Who's already in the mosque?
Him.
Okay.
And should I come on that line with him and pray, or should I pray separate? Or should
What do you mean, should you come on the line, please, separate? I don't understand.
I mean, should I come next to him, stand next to him?
So what's the scenario? Is he leading the salat?
There's no one here but me.
So you're the only one here praying by yourself?
Right.
Then you join him.
Okay.
You join him.
And the question that we were asking earlier about is, just to say, we all just made Maghrib. Another brother come late and start praying by himself. And the hadith that the Prophet also said that when someone give him sadaqah, meaning that he shouldn't pray by himself. And if you pray with him, it'll be a sunnah. But I see that a lot in Philly, that a person coming to mosque, and even though we already prayed, no one would join him to make the congregation prayer, which is more benefits in the congregation prayer.
Right. Yeah, Akhi Karim. We talked about that last week, or the week before, specifically about Salatul Maghrib. Salatul Maghrib, the ulama, they have 2 positions on that. In general, if a person is coming to the salat late, and the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, who will give a charity and pray with their brother, right? Like, this is the general position on that issue. However, for Salatul Maghrib, fihi mushkila. There's a mushkila, there's an issue with that. The issue of Salatul Maghrib is that if a brother comes in the masjid late, and you stand to pray Salatul Maghrib again, even though you already prayed Maghrib, but to make it a sunnah to pray with him, there's a mushkila. The problem is that there's no witr prayer before Isha. You will have prayed Salatul Witr, meaning an odd number of raka'at before Salatul Isha. So many of the ulama, some of them say you don't pray in this case, and the ones that say that you do, instead of praying the 3 rak'at, you're going to stand for a 4th one. Well, is that clear? You're going to stand for a 4th one. Is that clear? Like, why are you standing for a 4th one? So it won't be witr. So you won't be praying witr. Is that clear, Yaquan? Like, anything else?
Yes.
Fadl.
I was in another mosque, and we were sitting there waiting for the Jumu'ah to start.
Uh-huh.
Two guys were sitting side by side. Another guy came and tapped him, told him to move space.
Right.
He moved him up there.
You shouldn't do that.
Shouldn't do that? Okay.
Right. But we're going to talk about that when we get to Salatul Jumu'ah, because there are different rulings as it relates to that too. Now,
what's the ruling on two people praying? And we always did, for all the time I was Muslim, someone would stand a little bit up further instead of saying side by side. Now that I've learned that you're supposed to stand, if two people praying, no one should stand up in front of him like he's leading. You're supposed to stand side by side. Explain to the people that
no, I don't understand what's your question. What's your question?
Me and Rasul praying.
No. I know what you're saying. You're saying, what are you saying?
What is the correct opinion on that? Is it
The correct position, the way the scholars teach, you stand right next to one another. You stand next to one another, not one person in front of the other. That's the correct position. And Allah knows best. And this is according to the school of Imam Ahmed. Now, somebody may read somewhere else that says that we found a narration, or we find some of the ulama that practice different. Allah, I'm just telling you what I know. All right? So if you have something contrary to that, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying this is what I have. Well, like, any other questions, Jacqueline? Huh? Like, قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى. If you remember, we stopped last week. We were talking about the ones who can lead the salat and the ones who cannot. The ones who cannot. So we said, وَلَا أَخْرَص وَلَا عَاجِزْ عَنْ رُكُوعٍ أَوْ سُجُودٍ أَوْ قُعُودٍ أَوْ قِيَامٍ. The one that cannot recite the Quran, period, should not be leading the salat. وَلَا عَاجِزْ عَنْ رُكُوعٍ. And the one that cannot go into ruku', they should not lead the salat. أَوْ سُجُودٍ. The one that cannot make sujood should not lead the salat. قُعُودٍ. They can't sit, or miqiyaman, or they cannot stand. These people should not lead the salat unless there's an exception. The exception is that illa imam al-hayy. Imam al-hayy, as it's called, is the imam al-ratib, the one that is the official imam of that masjid, the one that is the official imam of that particular place. Al-ratib, as some of them say, that means they actually receive a salary. Okay? That means they are the official imam for that particular place. They said, except for imam al-hayy al-marjuwa zawalu illatihi. So, it's not just any imam al-hayy, it's not just any imam that receives a salary. Rather, it's any imam that receives a salary and it's anticipated that his sickness or impediment will soon disappear. What that means is that imam that's receiving a salary, all right? Let's say, for example, he messed his knee up playing basketball. Because we have imams that play ball here, right? So he was running ball on the court and blew his knee out. So he can't play now. He can't play ball now, right? So now he can't go down into a ruku'. Whatever position of the salat, he can't do. He has to sit in the chair. Now, this person, it's okay for him to lead the salat. Why? Because that illness, that sickness, is eventually going to go away after some time off, maybe a month, 2 months. In this case, it's permissible. What's also understood by this is that if that imam has a permanent condition wherein maybe he has a problem with his knees and there's not going to be any cure for his knee, or maybe he has a back problem where he'll never be able to do certain things, he's always going to have to sit down and pray. In this case, these people should not lead the salah. Why?
I was asking that why.
But
How about the older imams in the harems that's from old age?
right?
Would that be sufficient? Or they can,
What the older imams in the haram,
yes, that just,
like in Mecca or Medina,
yes.
they don't lead the salah. I remember when Sheikh Muhammad al-Subayy rahimahullah ta'ala, he stopped leading the salah in the haram and he walked very slow, but he stopped before he passed away, rahimahullah ta'ala. When people get to be certain ages, they don't lead the salat in the haram if they can't move. Now, طيب.
Does the rule applies to guest imams who comes in there and lead the?
So right now,
Okay.
this issue is talking about the permissibility of imams leading the salat. The only imams that can lead the salat, imams, we're talking about imams of masajid. The only imams that can lead the salat that have conditions are the ones in which the condition is believed to go away. Other than that, they should not be leading the salat. It doesn't mean they can't teach in the masjid. It doesn't mean they can't hold a position in the masjid, but we're talking about leading the salat. The question is, why not?
Is it because it would be a hardship for them?
Because of the people that's
Can't follow.
following.
People can't
It'll be
follow.
hard for the people to follow?
They can't follow,
Yeah,
but
they
they
can't
can't
really, if he can't go in the
The sisters?
positions.
I mean, either way.
Ahsant. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. It's because the rest of the followers of that imam will be leaving off a pillar in the salah. If you recall, we covered this in the past, from the pillars of the salah, al-qiyam, standing. So imagine if the imam, he can never stand. That means the whole congregation is leaving off a pillar of the salah. Now,
Okay, what you just said, that I was at a Juma, and the imam was leading. He couldn't go into the Jew. Another imam came up and let us in to Jew. So we left up a pillar.
I'm confused. Say that again?
I was in Juma.
Uh-huh.
The imam was speaking.
The imam was speaking in Jummah, giving the khutbah.
Right.
Okay?
He couldn't then because he had bad knees.
He couldn't then because he had bad knees. Was he the imam ratib?
No.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Right.
So someone else came and led the salah?
Yeah.
I love that. That's okay. Sure. It's not a condition for the imam. Whoever's giving the khutbah is not a condition that they must lead the prayer after the khutbah.
Right.
It's not a condition. Now, tafadhal.
But you said that if they happen to injure themselves in it, but it's not like a permanent situation.
It's not permanent, then they can. Yes.
But isn't that still like, if it's hurt at that time, then they're going to have to leave off a pillar too, right? What
But
about-
listen, the issue is longevity. If you have an imam of a masjid and he will never be able to stand for the salah, that means the community will forever leave off that particular pillar of the salah. If it's once in a while, and if an imam starts off like this and then he sits down, there's options that people can either sit down with him or stand. And we'll get into that, inshallah. Or maybe not, because there's a lot of detail. Unless something specifically comes up, or we ask the sheikh over here that's walking back and forth. طيب. So it says, إِلَّا الْإِمَامَ الْحَيَّ الْمُرْجُوَ وَالزَّوَالُ عِلَّتِهِ يُصَلُّونَ وَرَاءَهُ جَلُوسًا نَدَبًا. So let's say, for example, if there is an imam, al-hayy, the imam, the official imam of the masjid, and he injured his knee playing basketball, like the imam here, the sheikh here, he injured his knee playing basketball, trying to get in shape. Right? So let's say he injured his knee playing basketball. He thought he was 18 again, and he got hurt. So after that, it says, what's the position on praying behind him? Assuming his knee's going to get better. What's the position on praying behind him? يُصَلُّونَ وَرَاءَهُ جَلُوسًا نَدَبًا. So let's say instead of him standing, he starts off the salat sitting down. What's the verdict on people behind him praying? Do they have to stand or do they have to sit? According to the school of Imam Ahmed and Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni, it's recommended that the people sit behind him while he's leading the salat. If he's sitting, it's recommended that the people sit. Recommended. Right? فَإِنْ ابْتَدَأَ بِهِمْ قَائِمًا ثُمَّ تَلَّ فَجَلَسَ أَتَمُّ خَلْفَهُ قِيَامًا وُجُوبًا. Now pay attention, there's a difference between the two. Let's say the imam, he hurt his knee. He starts off the salah sitting down. That means the congregants, the people behind him, they have the option. They can either stand or they can what? Sit. It's recommended to sit if he starts off the salat sitting. Why? Because the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, for indeed the imam was placed to be followed. For indeed the imam is placed to be followed. Right? To be followed. Meaning you should follow the imam. Now, here's another sit. Now, it's sunnah to sit. It's recommended, as they say, nadaban. It's recommended that you sit behind the imam if he's sitting. This is not an imam that has a permanent condition. This is the imam who what? Twisted his ankle, he can't stand, messed his knee up, hurt his back temporarily. Inshallah, Allah will cure him from that, right? Right. So in that case, it is what? It's recommended that you sit when he sits. Now, the next situation, or the next case is, فَإِنِ ابْتَدَأَ بِهِمْ قَائِمًا. Now let's say, for example, the imam, his knee is hurting, but he says, you know what, I'm going to start the salat standing. And he starts reciting the Al-Fatiha, surah to the end of it. He goes down into the first rak'ah. And while he's down the first rak'ah, he's ready to stand up. He says, you know what, I can't stand. And he stays sitting. What should the people do behind him?
They should stand, but
The ruling on this here, I don't know if people have ever been in this situation before. It happens. It happens. In a situation like this, the scholars of Islam, they say that the congregants that are praying behind him should stand wujuban. It is wajib for all of the people behind him to stand in prayer while he's sitting down. So, we have two different scenarios here. This is why we stopped last week, because I know I have to explain this. The first one is we're dealing with one imam. What type of imam? An imam that has an injury that is so it's a short-term injury. Let's call it a short-term injury. The imam has a short-term injury that prevents him from fulfilling certain aspects or certain pillars of the salah. Tayyib? Cool. If he starts the salah sitting down, then it is recommended that everyone behind him does what? If he starts the salat sitting down, it is recommended for those following him to do what? Huh? To sit down. Mumtaz. If he starts the salat standing up, and while he's standing the first rak'ah, the second rak'ah, then he decides to sit down and finish the rest of the salat. What should the people praying behind him do? They should stand up. They should stand up wujuban, meaning it's obligatory. It's not recommended. It's obligatory to stand. And this issue has tons of, and this is لأنه صلى الله عليه وسلم في مرض موته قاعدا وصلى أبو بكر والناس خلفه قياما متفق عليه. And in this hadith, we find that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام في مرض موته, when the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم was sick, and they say it's on your deathbed, they call it مرض الموت, the sickness that will cause death. So they say when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this situation, he started praying qa'idan. He was sitting down. وَصَلَّى أَبُو بَكْرَ وَالنَّاسِ خَلْفَهُ قِيَامًا. And Abu Bakr and the rest of them prayed behind the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam qiyaman. They all stood up while he sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed sitting down. And this hadith you can find in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. And Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. طيب. وَالتَّصِحُ خَلْفَ مَنْ بِهِ سَلَسُ الْبَوْلِ. Now, if a person has salasul bowl, does anyone know what that is? Salasul bowl? Let's say, for example, a person constantly urinates. There's a sickness, something. Maybe he has a stomach problem. Maybe they have a bag that they use. Maybe they were in an accident or something happened to them. If they constantly use the bathroom continuously, what's the ruling? Before we even talk about the salat, what's the ruling on that? Let's say, for example, a brother or a sister, they have a bag. What do you call it? Kalashri bag, yes. They have it attached to them constant urination is going through it over and over again. They can't control their bladder at all, right? What's the position of that person praying? We're going to talk about that before we even talk about leading the salat. What's the position of that person praying?
If he's always in a state of impurity, would the salat be forgiven?
So if he's always in a state of impurity, is the salat forgiven? Meaning they don't have to pray? Okay. Anyone else? These are real issues, y'all. This stuff happens. Right? What's the ruling on that? Huh? If someone has a bag like that attached to them, right? They constantly have to replace the bag, clean it out, and they have to pray. Now, because according to the Sheikh, because they can't get purified, do they leave off the salah? No. So what do they have to do? Do they make wudu or no?
Yes.
They have to constantly make wudu? The question is, how often do they have to make wudu? I'm sorry? Before which prayer? Ahsant. If we have a situation where a person has a, what is it called, a colostomy bag? If they have a colostomy bag on them, right? In this case, nasallahu salamu afiyah. Oh, well then, ask Allah to give us safety and security, and whoever has that situation, may Allah cure them. In a situation like that, if a person has a condition like that, the ulama, they compare this person to a woman that is mustahaba, meaning a woman, we have some women that constantly bleed. Even after their menses, they constantly bleed, right? So the scholars of Islam said, in cases like that, those women must pray, but they must make wudu for every salah. And they compare it to the person that has salasul bowl, meaning the one who urinates constantly, that person must make wudu for every single salah. Wadah? Is that clear? Right. So in this case, وَتَصِحُّ خَلْفَ مَنْ بِهِ سَلَسُ الْبَوْلِ بِمِثْلِهِ. A person that has salasul bowl, a person that has constant urination, it's permissible for them to lead the salat for people like them. Whoever suffers from this similar condition, it's permissible for them to lead people in the salat mithlihi, yani with a similar condition. وَلَا تَصِحُّ خَلْفَ مُحْدَثًا. It is not permissible to pray behind a person that is muhdith, a person that broke their wudu. Is that clear? Let's say, for example, an imam stood up to lead the salat and he doesn't have wudu. Or let's say he's praying in the salat, and when he realizes he's praying in the salat, he says, oh man, I don't even have wudu. Instead of him just falling out of the salat to go make wudu, his pride takes over and says, you know what, I'm just going to finish because I'm too embarrassed to step out of the salat to go make wudu. So I'm just going to hopefully everything will be okay. There's a problem with that. We have an example of Imam al-Hudayfi in the Haram in Medina. He was leading the salat. Imam al-Hudayfi. Anyone know how big the masjid is in Medina? It's huge. When he was leading the salat, he broke his wudu and he stepped out of the ranks of the salat while people were praying and someone came to fill it so he can go make wudu. According to Imam Abi Hanifa, whoever leads the salat knowing that they don't have wudu, some of them said this takes you outside of the folds of Islam. That's how serious it is. So this issue here is not to be joked with, no.
So what would happen if an imam...
So we're about to talk about that.
Back there.
If an imam, okay, no, go ahead, ask the question.
Say if he's leading salat and pass gas and have to leave, would that be the same thing or similar?
It's the same thing. So if the imam, let's say for an example, an imam is leading the salat. While he's leading the salat, he breaks his wudu. And he realizes, oh man, I broke my wudu. What does he do? In a situation like this, the imam falls out of the salat, he leaves the salat, وَيَسْتَخْلِفْ مَنْ خَلْفَهُ. And then someone from behind him steps up and continues leading the salat where he left off at. Now,
is that a designated person?
it could be, or it could be a designated person, but someone must step up and lead the salat and pick up where the imam left off. And then once the imam finishes what he's doing, he'll come back join the salat from where and that'll be his first raka'ah, like he's starting all over again. So he's not going to pick up. No. Yeah. He's going to start in the ranks of the salat and start from the first raka'ah all the way up to there. All there? Is that clear, Sheikh? Like, so it's not permissible to pray behind a person that is muhdith, a person that broke their fast, broke their wudu, right? And it's also not permissible to pray behind a person that has najasa on them, any type of impurities on them, right? Like what can be an impurity on someone? Urine. Maybe that person didn't make istinja. And we also know as Muslims how important making istinja is. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, فَإِنَّهُمَا يُعَذِّبَانِ فِي الْكَبِيرِ. He was talking about two of the companions that were in the grave. He says, فَأَمَّا أَحْدَهُمَا فَمَا كَانَ يَسْتَتِرُ مِنَ الْبَوْلِ وَأَمَّا الْآخِرُ فَكَانَ يَمْشِي بِالنَّمِيمَةِ. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, the two companions in the grave, they're being punished. One of them are being punished because they wouldn't make proper istinja when they finished using the bathroom. They didn't clean themselves properly. And as for the other one being punished in his grave, then this person is being punished in his grave because they would spread tales. They would become tale carriers around and spread fitna between the people. So this shows that these two things are considered to be major sins in Al-Islam. Major sins in Al-Islam. Now, طيب فإن جهل إمام وهو ومأموم حتى إن قدت صحت لمأموم وحده. So let's say, for example, an imam leads the salat. Now there's a difference of opinion on this, but we're going to stick with what's in the book here. Let's say, for an example, imam leads the salat. Once he finished the salat, he realizes, oh man, I didn't have wudu. And I had all these people praying behind me. Is their salat invalid? Is my salat invalid? Is our salat correct? Because I forgot. I didn't know. Huh? What's the ruling on that?
I would think.
The imam is leading the salat. And once he says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and everyone gets up and leaves, he says, oh man, I didn't even have wudu. He just realizes after the salat that he didn't have wudu. What does he do? Does he run outside? He call there, come back in? So what about everyone else?
That's not their fault because they didn't know.
They just followed the imam.
So everyone else, the salat is invalid because they didn't. MashaAllah. So the salat for everyone is valid. Even the imam?
No,
but he forgot though.
Right.
So
what about the hadith about not being held accountable for forgetting? Like that ayah, La tu'akhirna in nasina or akhta'na. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you say, don't hold us accountable if we forget or make mistakes. So, that ayah is talking about us being punished, not making a mistake and having to fix it. Wadah? Is that clear? When Allah says when Allah says in Surah Al-Baqarah, we say don't harm us if we forget in nasina or akhta'na. If we forget or make a mistake. We say, oh Allah, don't harm us or don't hold us against us if we forget or make a mistake. Cool. What this is talking about is the sin being removed. Not the act. You still have to fulfill the action. So let's say, for example, in this case, this person left off or he didn't make wudu. He forgot that he didn't have wudu. As for the followers, according to Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni, Imam Al-Hajjawi, according to Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni from Imam Al-Hajjawi, the imam in this case, the imam has to what? He has to pray again. Whereas the followers, their salat is sahih. Their salat is sahih. Now, وَلَا تَصِحُّ إِمَامَةُ أُمِّي وَهُوَ مَنْ لَا يُحْسِنُ الْفَاتِحَةِ. The next case, it is not permissible. وَلَا تَصِحُّ إِمَامَةُ الْأُمِّي. It is not permissible for an imam to lead the salat that cannot recite the Quran. وَلَا يُحْسِنُ الْفَاتِحَةِ. It is not permissible for anyone to lead the salah if they cannot recite Al-Fatiha. If they cannot recite Al-Fatiha. Like, there are situations and there have been times, here in this city, I went and prayed inside a different masajid, and the imam that led the salat, we're not naming any masjids, but I went inside the masjid, this happened a couple times, and the imam that was leading the salat could not recite Al-Fatiha. And I don't mean make mistakes like, mistakes that don't change the meaning. One time, there was the imam of the masjid, he led the salat, he said, Iyaki na'budu. If anyone who knows Arabic, this changes the entire meaning. Iyaki na'budu is you're calling Allah a woman. Right? This nullifies the salah. It is not permissible. The only person, as some of the scholars say, if you know that this is a mistake, then your salah is invalid. Then you have to pray again. Now, from the bab of having hikmah, using wisdom, if you know that imam or that person leading the salat, and you're the only one that noticed that it was a mistake, as some of them mentioned, then his salat is correct for him and the people like him. But as for you who know that it's an error, you have an option. Option number one, in that you can tell him, but remind yourself that the purpose of telling this person is the hope that they take it from you. Right? At any event, you, knowing that it's a mistake, have to go and pray again. Now, using wisdom, as this situation happened with me and my son. We was in a masjid, and I looked at my son, and he looked at me and said, I don't know what that was. That's all right, cool. After that, we prayed again, but I told my son, let's not pray next to each other because we don't want to cause fitna in the masjid. You pray by yourself, and I'll pray by myself. Just from bab and hikmah, using wisdom, because some people might look, see, they think they're better than us. They're praying by themselves again. You don't want to cause that type of dissension. But at the end of the day, it's very important when you're praying, at least for all the Muslims, to learn how to recite Al-Fatiha. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, there is no salah for the one that cannot recite Al-Fatiha. There is no salah for the one that cannot recite Al-Fatiha. Now, وَإِنْ قَدَرَ عَلَى إِصْلَاحِهِ لَمْ تَصِحْ صَلَاتُهُ. If a person makes a mistake in the salah, in their Al-Fatiha, and they know that they can fix it, and they make this mistake anyway, change the meaning and so on and so forth, then their salat is not accepted. وَتُكْرَهُ إِمَامَةُ اللَّحَانِ. A person that recites bad, they make mistakes but they don't change the meaning, those people, is hated for those people to lead the salat. It's hated for those people to lead the salat. وَإِنْ يَؤُمُّ أَجْنَبِيًّا. The next issue. If a man, it is not, or is hated, it is hated for a man to lead a woman in the salat that is ajnabiyyatan lah. For example, it is hated for a man to lead a woman in the salat and she is not related to him, either his wife, daughter, mother, aunt, etc., etc. If a man and a woman, they're around, and a man leads a woman in salat that is not relation to him, meaning his wife, mother, daughter, aunt, etc., then this is something that is hated and should not be done.
I have a question.
Now,
my wife, we used to go up Williamsport up in the mountains. So I don't know if this would be the same thing. And they have a masjid there, but it's only Juma. So when it's time, we would pray. And we would pray the juice to Zaad, but my wife and my sister-in-law, we all would pray together. I would be, and they would.
Right. So in this case, it says, وَيَؤُمَّ أَجْنَبِيَّةً فَأَكْثَرُ لَا رَجُلَ مَعَهُنَّ. So as they say that it's hated for a man to lead a group of women in the salat. And it's just him, and there's no other man with him. Right. وَقَوْمًا أَكْثَرُهُمْ يَقْرَؤُونَ بِحَقٍّ. And it's also hated for a person to lead the salat over the people and the people don't like you. Bihaq. Yani, let's say for example, a person he's a simple person, certain aspects of the religion that person don't practice properly and people don't like that person. Bihaq, as they mentioned, bihaq, meaning there's a right there. It's not recommended for that person to lead the salah. Like another issue, what the sihu, and this is another issue. This is a sensitive issue because in our societies there are many children that were born out of zina. There are many children that were born from zina, right? So this issue of children born from zina in the time of the Salaf was a serious issue. In fact, the sin of the parents sometimes played a role on the children throughout their lives. In the times of, even in the land of the Muslims, if they would look at a brother or a sister and say, well, their child has no mother and father, meaning that the parents weren't married, it's a child from zina, then they would be looked down upon and no one would want to marry them. No one would want to marry them. They would be looked down upon and no one would want to marry them because of the sin that their parents did. So because of that, you find in the books of fiqh, the ulama always speak about walad al-zina, the children from zina, their status. So it says here, وَتَصِحُّ إِمَامَةَ وَلَدِ الزِّنَا. And it is permissible for a child born from zina to lead the salah. So a person might say, well, why would they mention that? Because in the times of the past, children born from zina were looked down upon. So the ulama, they're saying the child born from zina is no different. If they if they have the same skill or whatever they possess like all the other children, then it's permissible for them to lead the salat like anyone else. And you'll find in books of fiqh, certain topics are always mentioned, and you have to understand the climate during that time and how it was perceived. We're talking about all Islamic society when children were born this way. Right? When some of the children were born this way. Now, طيب. وَالْجُنْدِ إِذَا سَلِمَ دِينَهُمَا. And likewise, it's permissible for a soldier to lead the salat and سَلِمَ دِينَهُمَا, as long as their religion is upright. So the child born from zina and the soldier that's in the war or in the army, it's permissible for both of them to lead the salah as long as their religion is upright. As long as their religion is upright. Right. And we're gonna stop right there, inshallah ta'ala, because the next part, I'm gonna mention that in conjunction with the next section. Any questions about what we covered tonight, inshallah, or any questions outside of that, but it's kind of related to this? No.
When you start giving them Fatiha classes?
When are we going to start what? Giving Al-Fatiha classes?
Yeah, so people can say this a lot.
For the brothers?
Brothers, sisters.
We got sisters that can help the sisters.
So we can learn the salat properly.
Inshallah.
How to lead the salat.
Shake right here, man.
Okay.
Inshallah soon. No. That's a serious question. No, for real. Inshallah, we'll be starting that soon. Bi'idhnillah.
Because we need to learn the salat.
It's incumbent. And my thing is, a lot of people want to learn Arabic, but there's no benefit in learning Arabic if you can't recite Al-Fatiha. It should manfa'a. You could read Bakr Hada Suq, Indi Kalamun. You can say, I have a pen and this is the store, but you can't recite Al-Fatiha. No fine. It's no benefit at all. It's no benefit. Fine. Any other questions, Ya'akhwan? Any sisters in the back with questions? Fine. Huh? You sure? Right. So no questions about the imam that's injured leading the salah. You good with that? Go ahead. طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
You serious about that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to it, man. When I come to you and be like, all right, let's go. You, oh, well, I'm busy. Gotta go somewhere. Huh? Shake, stop that.